do the payroll on Sunday and
then some years it's
receive
so hard to
an
get
email with
dry.
check amounts on Monday and then I usually come
So. 2 days.
It's growing, I don't know how, but it's growing.
Yeah.
That big. That's just
It's like 419 here. And I forwarded a message from Steve Mitchell.
What's that?
I forwarded a message from Steve Mitchell.
We were driving towards Shawnee and there was a kayak. I mean,
427, 410, 405. No idea. You haven't rolled from frontier.com?
yeah.
You know, you got a quick send when.
Oh, Rosemont, Newfield Township got.
No, I don't have that.
Okay.
I don't have that one up and running.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll begin with roll call. Mr. Rosema? Here. Mr. Robertson?
Here.
Mr. Ferris?
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins? And Mr. Jansma is here. 4 members present. We have a quorum. Looking over this evening's agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
We approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Roseman to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 4-0. Any public comments on action items for this evening?
Do you have extra agendas?
I will momentarily. 2 seconds. Apologies, I thought I printed more than I actually did.
Thanks.
I'll ask again for any public comments on action items. Hearing none, will advance to communications and correspondence. Has anyone received anything since our last meeting? At last month's meeting, I indicated that I'd received an email from Mr. Draper, as all did the rest of us, about High Cloud's excess grow licenses they're entitled to. I have looked it over, and he's right, there's nothing we can do about it. If he chooses to do that, that's his right, his prerogative. So it's nothing for us to discuss or decide on. But I have the understanding that that's not what's occurring. But again, it's nothing he's got to let us know about. So if no one's heard anything else, okay. All right, we'll open up a public hearing for a site plan modification for RQMI Oceana Gardens 1, facility on 186th Avenue. They wish to add a hoop house style greenhouse and a pole building. Do we have a representative of Oceana Gardens here this evening who'd like to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman, that's me.
Mr. Holland.
I'm Kyle Holland, and I represent RQMI. You're right, we would like to petition the Planning Commission to approve and recognize that we have proposed 2 buildings that are within the character of the community and the character of and are permitted under the zoning, which is agricultural. And at your convenience, I will explain a little bit about these buildings.
I'd enjoy that.
Please and thank you. So, members of the commission, if you would look at the exhibits that I have shared with you, the first sheet is, and no, I don't have a magnifying glass, my apologies for the sizing, but the first sheet represents the 40-acre plot. Just so you've got some idea of exactly where we're looking. So there's a dotted square on the left-hand side of that plot. That is the detail on G12, second page. If I could ask you to look at that, please and thank you. The two buildings are detailed, the two proposed buildings are detailed in that sheet and are labeled new storage barn and new hoop house. Now, those of you who had the pleasure of touring our property, you will have seen a hoop house already. We have applied for and been approved for a hoop house, and the second one that is proposed is identical to the first. There is no difference in materials or size or shape at all. It's within the secure perimeter, so it's behind a vegetative barrier and a privacy screen, and as is the first one. So this is just adding a second hoop house. I'd like to convince the commissioners that this is a completely uncontroversial addition to an agricultural property. Further, if you'd look at just to the south and west of that new hoop house number 2, new storage barn is outside the secure perimeter. That is proposed for just so we can store equipment. It is a barn in every respect. 80 by 35 with 3 doors. We need some place to store tractors, and this structure would do just fine. My insistence that these structures will be within the character of the community. And I'd ask that you look at the details on A1 and A2, both of those sheets explain the size, shape, and construction of these two buildings. And these will go into the record, and this is exactly what will be built, with your permission.
Kyle, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Being a little naive about the agriculture aspects of cannabis growing, what does hoop house mean?
So it's a greenhouse. It's a greenhouse that happens to, because there are different shapes and sizes of greenhouses, and this one happens to be made out of a series of hoops, just arches that are wedged into the ground. Those arches are in a series, so it creates basically a tunnel shape. We cover that with a clear plastic covering, and we're done.
So you plant things inside to get them.
It's pretty common that you plant things inside, and for instance, the hoop house that we have right now, we're using for our starts, for our little baby plants. It's a little crowded in there, and so we'd like some extra space.
Okay.
We'd also like some extra space. Hoop houses end up getting pressed into service for other stuff other than just cultivation, like when it rains and you need to run somewhere to get out of the rain. That's really effective. The space that we have, the interior space that we have right now is just full, and a hoop house would effectively be more space out of the weather.
What's the floor surface? Is it going to be straight dirt? Is it going to have raised concrete floor, dirt floor, what are we?
A fine question, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've used crushed concrete in the first one, and we think it's a great surface, and that's exactly what we'll do. So when I say it's going to be exactly like the first one, it's going to be exactly like the first one.
Anyone else with questions?
You're not anticipating any need for security in your whole barn itself, as far as cameras or such?
So, this area is already under surveillance by our camera system, and we would probably add some more. I don't want a tractor to go missing.
I just didn't see them located within the.
So, you're right, and thank you for pointing that out, but especially in that structure, we're not required to.
Correct.
So, we will do that at some point in time, just because it's a good idea.
Right.
And we'll also take the keys out of the tractors too. Our property is staffed 24 hours a day, so that's kind of a key part of our security for sure.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll open it up to questions from the public for Mr. Holland. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to pose? Mr. Draper.
Yeah, I've got one. Mr. Holland, so the existing greenhouse you say is full right now with young plants, so you're getting a new one. Are you anticipating then also increasing the number of plants that you'd be growing?
No.
Because I know that you have excess grow permits, grow licenses from the state that would allow you to grow another 8,000 plants this year. So I don't know why you'd have those excess licenses if you're not planning on growing more plants.
So that's not true. And I'm going to limit my responses to questions about buildings.
Okay, I've got license numbers pulled off of the Cannabis Regulatory Agency website. But, okay, that was my question.
Any other questions from the public?
I guess I do have one more.
Okay.
So last summer, I know before the election, things were brought up about the marijuana industry around here, and one point that was made repeatedly was the marijuana that was grown around here would not be sold around here in this community. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard rumor that you guys have acquired a permit from the village of Hesperia for a retail location in Newfield Township in the village. Is that accurate?
Respectfully, I'm going to put in here that's not pertinent. But if Mr. Holland chooses to answer, he may, but that's not pertinent to why we're here.
Okay.
But I thank you for your
questions
question.
about buildings.
Yeah. Going once, going twice. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I just have a question. My property joins to that property. Can you just, I don't have your diagram, can you just tell me where they're at as far as the property line?
Sure. They're at the road, basically, at 186th Street.
Yeah,
I've got an extra copy if you'd like.
yeah, I would.
Last call for questions before we close the hearing and move on. Going once, going twice. Okay, we will close the hearing and move on with the rest of our business. Thank you, Mr. Holland. Under old business, the only thing that I have is cleanup day, which was a resounding success last Saturday. I got here at 7:45. We already had 2 dumpsters full. Mike Mayo came to mash them down for us so that we could continue to take in household refuse, etc., until probably 10:30, 11 o'clock when we said, nope, no more room at the inn. And of course, we still had some people drop some more things off, which was great. I tried to keep a mental tally of the number of people who came through and was backed up by the surveillance system. We had 48 residents drop off and filled up 4, what were those, 30-yard dumpsters, and they filled them up just like that. We have another one scheduled for the Saturday after Labor Day, where we're gonna have the same 4 dumpsters. We decided just that it would be a good idea to expand to 6 for next spring. That way we don't have to turn anybody away, because we did get to the point where someone came with a trailer and I said, no more room. I can't take your couches. There's just no more room. So we're gonna look at expanding to 6 dumpsters next spring. So thank you to everybody that came and tried to tidy up the township a little bit.
You see what people putting stuff up.
What's that?
I've drove by some of the yards that had stuff in, and you
Oh,
can
yeah.
see where they're definitely likely.
Yep. Under new business, I'm going to do this in reverse order. We're gonna do some master plan discussion first, then we'll move on to discussing the site plan. I meant to change that before I printed it off. That is my mistake. Last month, we had a robust discussion with Mr. Kiesler from McKenna about, we reviewed the current master plan as it stands. We're able to kind of pick through some things that are extremely outdated and try and change our, we went over the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that was in that master plan, and we brought it into current day, just with some things that could come off the list, things that needed to stay on the list, and a couple ideas for things that needed to come onto the list. Our next step is going to be a stakeholders meeting, which is going to meet with business owners, heads of social groups like the American Legion, the Knights of Columbus, that has a chapter that operates out of a church here, churches. So I've got a list compiled. I'm going to get some mailing addresses this week and next. We need to set a date for that meeting. I have an assurance from Jeff that he's got pretty much every day. He'll make a day available even if he doesn't have it available. He will make it available for us to have this meeting. I've got a list of, I actually have it right here. I'm up to 60 business owners, members of the faith community, social organizations. So I'm up to 60, and that list keeps growing because I drive around and go, oh, I don't have them on there. Oh, I don't have them on there. Or they come into the hardware store and I says, hey, you're not on my list. So we probably will be moving to another location for that, because I don't think we're going to really want to cram 60 people into the hall and have space for refreshments and things. So we'll look at that depending on how many RSVPs we get back. I would like to make that a joint meeting with the township board, so that everyone can be there, everyone is represented. So does anyone have a preference for a date in the end of July, beginning of August that would work? It can be any day of the week except Fridays, as far as I've been led to understand. We're looking probably the end of July would be a better fit before we start getting into the back to school season. I know school just got out and I'm saying back to school already, please don't shoot me. So any thoughts?
It'd be tough for me at the end of July.
Okay.
The 26th, I'm having back surgery.
Ooh.
The 25th works for you then. So the 25th works for you then.
Yeah, I suppose. But that's just me.
Okay. How about let's do the week prior to that, just so we can make sure that you're here and represented. I'm looking at the 18th is out because that's the township board meeting. The regular township board meeting, we don't want to clog up their night with all of that.
What about the 19th?
Yeah, 19th or 20th.
19th or 20th is open.
Okay.
That's
Steve, the 19th or 20th for the shareholders meeting in July, or the stakeholders meeting, excuse me?
Sounds good.
Okay.
No, that would be a joint meeting with the board.
Correct. Yep. Yep, ideally, yeah.
And do we have a list of folks to invite?
I'm up over 60, and I'm gathering mailing addresses, so that I can get that out, but as soon as I have a date, which we're gonna set tonight, hopefully, then I'll get that letter out, as soon as, if the, board on Tuesday, if that works for everybody on the board, then I'll get that letter ready to go out, probably Wednesday or Thursday. So let's pencil in the 20th.
20th?
Yeah, Thursday, July 20th.
It's gonna be a day meeting, night meeting.
Many of our businesses and our business owners are there till 5 or 6. I mean, I would work until 6 that day, but if we scheduled it for earlier, I don't know how many people we'd catch who run the shop and own it. So I was thinking 6:30 again, just for convenience of our business owners. That works?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And then looking, and that works because we do not have a regular meeting in July. So that way we're not clogging up time. So we do not have a regular meeting in July. Our next meeting would be August 10th otherwise. So let's pencil in Thursday, July 20th at 6:30 for a stakeholders meeting. And if that works with the township board, we'll cement that in and I'll get that letter out ASAP. Okay. All right, going back to new business 9A, the site plan modification for our QMI. Let's open it up for some discussion here at the desk. Thoughts, comments, concerns from the board, or the commission, excuse me?
I don't have any concerns on what he's asking for.
Yeah.
I mean, the new hoop house is just to spread out the plants that are there, it's so crowded.
Get them started.
Yep.
Yep.
The other building's gonna match the stuff that's already there.
The barn,
Yeah, the new barn, yeah.
use the same materials.
All right, correct. Yep. I don't see no issue there.
And subject to zoning approval.
Yes, of course. All the proper channels.
Is gonna add any employees, do you think, or just gonna facilitate what you currently have?
We're gonna definitely be, I don't know that it necessarily has anything to do with these buildings, but we're definitely looking for more help.
Well, say with the hoop house and stuff, I was wondering.
It will create some more work, for sure. Yes.
I think everything looks good.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the board that we approve the site plan modification.
I second that.
Motion by Robertson is supported by Rosema to approve the site plan modification as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 4-0. Steve, what do you have for us this month?
Not a whole lot, but, big thing was, we had a very successful cleanup day.
Yep.
Last Saturday. We managed to overflowingly fill.
Yeah, I already gave a spiel on that one.
If you get here on time, you know we already had it.
I was goofed up, I thought we were starting at 7. Somehow I missed that notice.
It wasn't on the agenda.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, my goodness.
It's on the board.
Should have read the board. I just read emails. But anyways, it was a very successful cleanup day.
Yes, it was.
think-
I went back and looked at the cameras. We had 48 residents come in, and that was unique residents, not 48 visits.
Right.
So that was really nice.
Yeah, that was terrific. Some of the problematic folks that we have cleaned up their properties, which again, that's a helpful thing. I want to thank both folks from True North and from RQMI for coming out and also, gosh, I almost forgot, the majority was actually from High Cloud on M20 for coming out and working with us, and they really helped out quite a bit. I think it'd be much more difficult without them.
Oh, yeah.
So that was real nice. I also want to thank Joan and Dennis, David. They actually went out and picked up probably one of our worst garbage spots in the township on Friday, and that was way above and beyond the call of duty. And I think they need a little round.
Absolutely.
After that, it was a pretty disgusting situation. Yep, so.
2.5 hours to do at least 100 bags of kitchen garbage.
Yeah, it's just
2.5.
really awful. So, we really appreciate that. We wound up, I think with another 4 zoning permits last month. And things kind of started slow this year, but they're certainly picking up. Now, looks like we'll have some additional permits, some commercial structures. Obviously you went through the site plan from RQMI. It's a pretty good sized pole barn there. And of course, High Cloud is doing a very, very large pole barn. So that just keeps on adding to the tax rolls, which is a good thing. We're seeing a little slowdown. Obviously, interest rates and lack of availability of contractors is an issue, but we're pretty pleased.
Have you heard anything from Bierman's about any progress they've made?
We heard a little bit. They really were hoping to purchase Mike Arbogast's facility, and the family is not quite ready to deal with it.
The last time I talked to Teresa, his wife, they said that they're still obligated to finish a house too.
Yep.
So they've got to finish up in there before they can do that.
It really is the location that works for Kevin. He would probably purchase Aaron's, except that, the price is so high, and there would be a bit of work that he'd have to add, including power requirements, that make it just economically not feasible.
Yeah.
So, I'm pleased about that. Two things that were brought up recently that I think can be put on the future agenda for the Planning Commission. One is short-term rentals. I do have someone that is purchasing on McLaren Lake with the idea of it being specifically for a short-term rental. Right now we have no ordinance dealing with short-term rentals. So we may want to think about that. There are, I guess, 3 or 4 right now that are listed on Airbnb. So I think that's a topic to come up with. I've also had a couple of folks talk to me about building small resorts. 4, 5, 6 little cottages, again with that kind of short-term rental idea. And I think that's another thing that's not clear in our zoning on how one would do that. I guess right now probably the clearest way would be to do special use, but I think we should probably address that going forward. People like this area and they want to come visit, they want to come stay. And I think we need to find ways to accommodate that growth.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, next up on the agenda is general discussion in the commission. Do we have anything else to discuss? And I don't, no? I don't have anything at the moment. We got our discussion done with the master plan process. Got our date in for that. No, I don't have anything else. So for the moment, we'll open it up for general public comments. If anyone has a question or a comment, concern.
I'd like to thank the commission for approving our proposal very much.
Anyone else? All right, under recommendations for the township board, I have a recommendation from the planning commission to the township board to approve the site plan modification request for Oceana Gardens, RQMI, on 186th Avenue as presented. No restrictions or, oh, what's the other word that I just lost?
Special conditions.
Special conditions is the word I was looking for, not restrictions. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Robertson.
Second, Roseman.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Rosema to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned at 7:00.